What if 5 seconds of the right kind of touch could create more emotional bonding than hours of conversation? And what if most women over 60 have completely forgotten how to use this powerful language of love? You see, the right kind of touch doesn't just create warmth, it triggers testosterone in men. He starts to feel that you're the one. And yes, even at 65, 70, or beyond, he'll find himself wanting to claim that bond, protect it, and even beg you to marry him. Hi, it's Vernon again. Today, I'm going to share 5 specific types of touch that create instant emotional bonding in men over 60. Touches that speak to their deepest psychological needs and trigger powerful attachment responses. Before we dive in, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell so you never miss out on insights like this, especially if you believe love after 60 deserves more depth, not less. So, what are these 5 types of touch, and why do they matter so much more than we think? Let's explore them one by one.
The power of intentional presence. There's something profound that happens when touch carries the weight of complete attention, when you're not just making physical contact, but offering your full presence through that contact. This is what I call mindful touch, and it's perhaps the most powerful way to trigger emotional bonding in mature men. When applied to touch, this presence transforms simple physical contact into profound emotional communication. The recipient doesn't just feel your hand, they feel your attention, your care, your conscious choice to be fully with them in that moment. This type of touch works particularly well with mature men because they've often experienced decades of functional rather than mindful touch. Quick hugs, hello and goodbye, perfunctory kisses, touches that serve social purposes rather than emotional ones. When they encounter touch that carries complete presence, it stands out dramatically. To practice intentional presence through touch, start small. When you place your hand on his shoulder during conversation, make sure your attention is completely focused on that contact and the moment you're sharing. When you touch his hand while walking, be fully present to the warmth, the texture, the connection, rather than thinking about other things. The key is that your nervous system must be calm and centered for this to work. Anxious or distracted touch actually triggers stress responses rather than bonding responses. Take a moment to ground yourself before meaningful contact. Remember, you're not just touching his body, you're touching his emotional experience through your quality of presence. This creates what psychologists call secure attachment behaviors that make men feel emotionally safe and connected. But while presence creates the foundation for emotional bonding, there's another type of touch that speaks to an even deeper psychological need in mature men. 2. Creating safety through gentle contact. Men may not always say it out loud, but after 60, what they crave more than chemistry is safety. Not the kind that protects the body, but the kind that quiets the mind and calms the nervous system. And believe it or not, that kind of emotional safety can be triggered through something as simple as a gentle, intentional touch. When a woman places her hand softly on a man's forearm during a conversation, when she lightly touches his back as they walk side by side, when her presence is felt through contact that says, "You're safe here, you don't have to perform," something powerful happens inside him. The psychologist Carl Rogers wrote about unconditional positive regard, the healing power of being accepted without judgment. When this acceptance is communicated through gentle, non-demanding touch, it creates what attachment theorists call earned security, the feeling that one is worthy of love despite imperfections or limitations. To practice safety-creating touch, focus on contact that has no agenda beyond comfort and acceptance. A gentle hand on the back during a moment of vulnerability. Soft touch on the shoulder when he's tired or stressed. Contact that says, "I'm here, you're safe, you don't need to perform or prove anything." The timing of this touch is crucial. It's most powerful during moments when he might feel insecure, vulnerable, or uncertain. Your gentle contact becomes associated with safety and acceptance rather than demand or expectation. Think of yourself as creating what researchers call a secure base, a person with whom he can be completely authentic without fear of rejection or judgment. This type of touch builds what psychologists call attachment security, which is one of the strongest predictors of relationship satisfaction and longevity. This foundation of safety creates the perfect environment for a more sophisticated type of touch that acknowledges his value and contributions.
3. The art of appreciative touch. I call this appreciative touch, and it has the power to create instant emotional attachment because it speaks directly to the masculine need for recognition. This works particularly well with mature men because many have spent decades being valued primarily for their productivity, their problem-solving ability, or their practical contributions. Touch that appreciates their intelligence, their character, their unique qualities creates emotional attachment by addressing needs that may have been neglected for years. My friend Eleanor, at 65, newly divorced after a long marriage, Eleanor felt awkward about physical intimacy and uncertain about her appeal to men. She met Robert, a 68-year-old retired teacher, at a book discussion group. Initially, their interactions were cordial, but not particularly charged with connection. Everything changed when Eleanor combined touch with genuine appreciation. When Robert shared an insight from a book, she didn't just agree, she touched his arm and said, "The way your mind works, I love how you see connections others miss." Her touch reinforced sincere admiration for his intelligence, his perspective, and the way he thinks. Robert later told me that Eleanor's appreciative touches made him feel more valued than he had in years. It wasn't just that she touched me, it was that the touch came with recognition of something specific she appreciated about me. It made me feel truly seen and valued. The ancient Roman philosopher Cicero wrote about the power of recognition. Gratitude is not only the greatest of virtues, but the parent of all others. When appreciation is communicated through touch, it creates what psychologists call positive reinforcement bonding. The recipient associates the giver with feelings of worth and value. Each of these approaches works by addressing specific psychological and emotional needs that become more important, not less, as men mature. But now I want to share something even more sophisticated.
4. Building anticipation through subtle connection. At this stage in life, mature love isn't rushed. It's felt before it's spoken. And one of the most
powerful ways to deepen emotional chemistry with a man over 60 is to build anticipation, not through grand gestures, but through subtle, intentional touch. It's the light graze of your fingertips as you hand him a cup of coffee, the brief, lingering touch on his shoulder as you walk past, the way your hand almost rests on his arm during conversation, but not quite. These micro moments don't just create tension, they awaken presence. This principle works particularly well with mature men, because they're often more motivated by emotional sophistication than physical intensity. The woman who understands timing, build-up, and the power of leaving them wanting more connection becomes fascinating rather than just attractive. To practice anticipation-building touch, think in terms of emotional appetizers rather than full meals. Brief, meaningful contact that acknowledges connection but doesn't linger. A touch that says, "I'm aware of you, I enjoy our connection, and there's more to explore." The key is that these touches should feel natural and authentic, not calculated. You're not withholding affection. You're creating a natural rhythm of connection and space that keeps emotional energy alive and building. This works because it triggers what psychologists call intermittent reinforcement, the most powerful schedule for creating lasting behavioral patterns. The anticipation of meaningful connection becomes almost as rewarding as the connection itself. Have you ever felt more drawn to someone, not because of what they did, but because of what they let you feel in the quiet moments? Share that story in the comments. I'd love to hear how subtle connection created something unforgettable. Also, there's one kind of touch that goes even deeper. It makes a man feel chosen, seen, and emotionally safe in a way few other gestures can.
5. The sacred touch of emotional intimacy. The most profound type of touch for creating lasting emotional attachment in mature men is what I call sacred touch. Physical connection that occurs during moments of emotional vulnerability or deep sharing. This touch doesn't seek to create intimacy, it honors intimacy that already exists in the moment. This type of touch is particularly powerful for mature men because many have spent lifetimes being strong for others, rarely receiving the gift of having their own vulnerabilities held with tenderness. When a woman can offer physical comfort during emotional exposure without trying to fix or minimize their experience, it creates profound attachment. Neuroscience research shows that supportive touch during emotional stress actually helps regulate the nervous system, reducing fight or flight responses and creating what researchers call co-regulation, where one person's calm, caring presence helps stabilize another person's emotional state. To offer sacred touch, you must first create emotional safety where vulnerability can emerge naturally. Then, when moments of deeper sharing occur, your touch becomes a bridge of comfort rather than an attempt to create vulnerability for your own purposes. This sacred touch creates what attachment researchers call earned security, the experience of being emotionally held during difficult moments, which forms the foundation of the deepest human bonds.
As we reach the end of our exploration together, I want you to understand something profound. The 5 types of touch I've shared, intentional presence, safety-creating gentleness, appreciative recognition, anticipation-building subtlety, and sacred emotional support aren't techniques to manipulate men into attachment. They're ways of speaking the deep language of human connection that transcends age, gender, and circumstance. Each of these touches works because it addresses fundamental human needs that become more, not less important as we mature. The need to feel truly seen, emotionally safe, genuinely valued, romantically desired, and spiritually held during vulnerable moments. If you found yourself recognizing the power in these approaches, if you felt excited about the possibility of deeper connection rather than worried about your age or appearance, then you already possess the most important quality for creating lasting bonds. The understanding that true attraction is based on emotional sophistication rather than just physical appeal. Remember, these aren't tricks or techniques. They're expressions of emotional intelligence and sophisticated understanding of human psychology. The woman who masters this language of meaningful touch doesn't just attract men. She creates the conditions for relationships that satisfy the soul as well as the heart. If this message resonated with you, if it reminded you that real connection is still possible and perhaps more powerful than ever, then don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with a woman who deserves to hear this, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss another conversation about love, depth, and emotional intelligence after 60. And don't forget to click the notification bell so each new insight finds you right when you're ready to receive it. Thank you for joining me today, and see you in the next video.